Wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
I appreciate you, Joe, for having me on. It's a blessed day, and again, can't wait to have an amazing conversation with you and just share some value. Love it.
Absolutely. Great to be here. So, before we dive into your history as a business owner, as a recruiter, everything that's going on in your world, I want to know this. 5 years ago, the pandemic changed everything for all of us. How did you get
Absolutely.
through that time period, and how has it affected the way that you do things here in 2025?
Yeah, I would say, during that time period, I was transitioning out the military. So not only was it a challenge when it comes to, job opportunities and securing a financial income, and stability, it was also a mental crisis for a lot of individuals. And for me, I had this stability, I had this structure, I had this, infrastructure when it comes to the military. All of a sudden, it was being not only taken away from me, but then it goes, hey, when you get back to the civilian world, it's not the same world that you when you first left it, right? So it put me in a very position where it was kind of like either make it or break it, right? It gave me the ability to say, okay, you know what? I have to make this work. I have no choice but to make it work because a lot of people when they transition out the military, they get comfortable. Some of them do. And so in that moment when I got into the civilian world, COVID did change a lot of things, but God blessed me enough to put me in a position where, the type of job that I was doing, it kind of worked out during that time from during the scariest times. And again, I was blessed. And I would say that the way it's being able to kind of, put me in a position today and my mindset today and how I do business is just, it allows me to appreciate every single moment as much as possible because the world's crazy, right? Things happen left and right, as you know, Joe. A lot of things are happening, and so we have to enjoy the moment, but also to be able. It's called we don't panic, we pivot, right? We don't panic, we pivot, and so you have to be ready, adapt and overcome, and just get ready to jump over the next hurdle.
So let's get into all of the titles that you hold right now and break it down into something that's understandable. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at a grade school. It's career day, and the kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
Yeah. Very simple. All I do is I simply show hardworking people how to make money work hard for them finally. Whether it's building wealth, preserving wealth, whether it's making their money grow for them a little bit differently than what they're taught. And so I just pretty much show people how to make their money work more effectively for them, right? Because I tell people all the time, right? The wealthy don't work for money, the wealthy make money work for them, right? So I'm just showing people how to make money as a tool. And then, I just give people the ability to be put into my shoes and do the exact same thing for other individuals as well. Once they get educated and once they get trained and they have the right credentials. So that's essentially what I do right there, Joe.
Yeah,
Very, very simple, you know?
totally. So what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
Oh man, that's a great question. If you asked me a long time ago, at 12 years old, I would tell you, man, I want to be the first baseball playing astronaut. That's what I would tell people. I want to be
Yeah.
the first one to be on the moon and just be the first baseball guys on the moon. Right? I was very ambitious. I said, well, people have gone to the moon, but let me one up it by being the first athlete on the moon that's
Yeah.
actually playing a game on the moon. Right? That's how I thought because I love sports. And I love the idea of going to space. I actually wanted to be an astronaut growing up. And then it wasn't until like, beginning of high school, maybe, sophomore or junior year, I forgot which where it was, where I pretty much went the military route and I knew that that was pretty much the challenge for me.
So talk to me a little bit about these foundational elements of getting in the military, of being somebody that a flashlight in a room of helping people find the best for their money and leading people. How did all of these skills get woven into you early on and evolve into your career?
Yeah, that's a great question right there, Joe. I would say number one, I guess I've always been someone who kind of studies the environment. I've been someone who's always been kind of pretty much been coachable. I've been like a sponge, and I'm very analytical in the sense of like I like to study the world, and I like it to see what's going on and put pieces together. When I was in the military, I was a diesel mechanic, and so I had to troubleshoot. And troubleshoot means that if there's a problem here, what's causing this problem? Let's backtrack and find what's going on over here. Okay, but what's happening here? Because if this doesn't work, this doesn't work. Okay, what's going on over here that's not lining out to work? And so I took that exact same analysis and I started realizing how society was structured, how banks were structured, how money was structured, retirement strategies, making money. having a good life. And I started doing all this troubleshooting, and I started realizing, because me being analytical, no matter what environment you would put me in, I would study that environment, I would study that craft, I would study that industry to the T, and go back to the roots and find out, okay, why is this like this? How does this work that way? And what's the purpose of this doing this? I guess it's been woven for me from the moment I was young. I've always been curious, Joe. I've
Yeah.
always been the person to want to experiment, to poke things, to break things, to put them back together. And I'm basically doing that now at a much higher level. That's much more profitable, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, who's been your hero? Who's been your inspiration that's allowed you to evolve to where you're at today?
Wow, that's a great question. That's a great question, Joe. I've never been asked that question,
Yeah.
Um, man. I guess growing up, I didn't have an inspiration. I didn't have someone to really look up to. I guess when I was really young, maybe I used to look up to Derek Jeter and his story, of the New York Yankees, the shortstop. Derek Jeter was, like a hero to me, especially his story and what he did and what he was able to accomplish and cement his legacy. So I guess legacy wise, Derek Jeter was one of my heroes. Um, Honestly, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was another big one that stands out to me. He was someone who stood for the truth, and no matter what happened, and obviously, he got taken out for the truth and for fighting for good. And I guess now that I'm older, Joe, my biggest inspiration, my biggest North Star or that I aspire is Jesus Christ. When you study what's everything that's going on about that. So Jesus Christ is now my North Star. But yeah, growing up, Joe, I didn't have access to too much. How does it called? I wasn't watching too much TV. I wasn't, I didn't get exposed to books to like that. I just took whatever came in front of me. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and it was like just survive the next day, kind of situation, right? So
Yeah.
that was a great question, Joe. Yeah, I would say those
So let me ask you this: as somebody that helps people make money, one of the big things in our lives are our relationship with money or purchases that we make. What was
for
the
sure.
first big purchase that you made in your life where you were like, oh man, this is big, but it felt good and it worked out. It really kind of taught you something.
Well, I guess my first big purchase, I would say I didn't go the right way. I would say I'll put it this way, my biggest purchase. When I first started growing, when I first started winning and actually, getting paid for my worth, I got a bit too comfortable, right? Because when you grow up with not a lot of money, the moment you come across money, you might be like, you know what? I mean, I made this once, I could do it again. Or hey, this is gonna come continuously coming. And so my first big purchase that I made that, I'm very frugal, Joe. I get what I need. I get what I need, not what I want most of the time, right? You can ask people who know me very well. I go to the grocery store and I say, nah, does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. People are like, people go, hey, well, I want these extra snacks. I'm like, nah, do I really need those snacks? But my biggest first purchase, I was in my, young 20s, mid 20s, and I purchased an $8,000 luxury watch. That was my biggest purchase, an
Wow.
$8,000 luxury watch. I'll never forget it. It was a Cartier, and I bought it, and I only had it for about maybe I would say 2, 3 months before it pretty much got taken away from me. It was a horrible moment. I was going to Cabo, Mexico, and I put my watch in the actual luggage, right? Instead of putting it on my wrist.
Yeah.
And so going to Cabo, Mexico, I was going to this business seminar, and with our business. And when I get to the airport, I'm like, why does my luggage feel empty? What's going on? I open it up, everything's gone. My colognes, my watch, my beer kit, everything's gone, Joe. And $8,000 got rid from me like this. I only had it for like 2, 3 months. And in that moment, I felt that kind of like, wow, like all that hard work, just like this, 8 grand. I've never had something like that in my life. The moment I had something that I can call mine, and because watches are wearable assets.
Yeah.
But it also taught me a lesson. I was super, super upset. But on the bright side, I realized I said, wait, but you know what? It's a watch. It's a material, and it was my value and my skill set that allowed me to get that piece of luxury watch. So guess what? Let me do it again. And so I dug down. I worked really, really, really hard, And then I say, you know what, the next watch, I'm gonna double it. Instead of 8 grand, I'm gonna get a $16,000 watch. And so that's the watch that I'm wearing right now here, which is a $16,000 Rolex. And that's what I do, Joe. I just put it to myself. I said, there's no way I'm gonna double it now next
Yeah,
time, and I'm gonna go to work. So
that's
that's
it.
my first one. It didn't go right. I had it for 2, 3 months, Joe.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten?
I guess the best business advice that I've ever gotten is that, wow, that's a great question. I guess I would say that if you help other people get to their goals, you'll get to your goal. If you show 10 people how to make 6 figures, you'll make 10. I mean, you'll make seven, excuse me. So if you show 10 people how to make 6 figures, you'll make seven. If you show 10 people how to make 7 figures, you'll make eight. If you show 10 people how to make eight, you'll make nine. And so on and so forth. And so when you get into business, you start realizing that, it's not about you ultimately. It's about the cause, it's about the mission, it's about the people you represent, it's about your staff and the community. And so I would say the best business advice that I got is number one, that if you help other people get to their goals, ultimately you'll get to your own goals. Is a big one. I had to learn that the hard way because when I first got into business and entrepreneurship, it was about me, 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 me. But you can't scale when it's me, 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 me.
Yeah.
So that's a very important one.
Is there an entrepreneur that you've looked up to that you've kind of emulated and kind of taken pieces of their story and made it your own to kind of become a better entrepreneur?
I guess I would say the best one because of my age, especially our generation. I'm only 27 years old, just turned 27 years old. And so I guess my biggest kind of like person that I look up to is well because he has a strong presence, especially in our community, is Patrick Bet David. If you ever heard of him, Joe, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Bet David, strong one, because he's come up similar. He's had his own downturns, and he has a story of success, and he's very sharp, very 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 sharp. His books are amazing. Your Next Five Moves and Choose Your Enemies Wisely are two amazing books that I recommend to young entrepreneurs or even anybody who has an entrepreneur business mindset. So that's someone that I really look up to and I still study to this day.
So what gets you up every day to do this work at a high level, to continue to evolve, but also to take care of your own soul? What's that collective energy for you every day?
Yeah, I would say when I first started, it was about giving myself some freedom and be able to break the system, right? That was my first goal initially. But again, that's that me, me, me aspect. Then from there, if you don't have a strong why, you won't be able to become successful. And so my next why was be able to take care of my mother. And so I did that. I put myself in a position where I was able to still take care of my mother. And so my goal is to completely retire her. And when I say completely retire her, I mean like she doesn't have to think about anything. And I want to buy her a big plot of land in her home country, a huge plot of land. So that's one of my goals. But my real why, one of my strongest whys, is because eventually when you take care of you and your own and your family, that's where people plateau. My biggest why is I want to be able to grow so big and so influential and make such a big impact that I'm able to influence and motivate and prepare the next generation for the next business owners, the next entrepreneurs, and the next leaders. And I also want to be able to give back to a bunch of churches. Right now, Christianity is I put it like this, right? A lot of people don't understand their faith or where they lie in their faith. And so I want to be able to give back to churches and I want to help churches start building again and be strong to be able to spread the gospel, spread the good news of Jesus Christ. And so that's my goal. My goal number one is not only take care of those who I love, but be in a position where I can change the minds, influence, motivate, coach, instill discipline, instill that ambition, that drive that makes us who we are in America. And then, of course, support the churches.
So if you had a dream tonight, ran into a young version of you, like the younger version of you in Brooklyn, and you could give
Yeah.
that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the choices you've made, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
Man, honestly, I don't even know if my younger self will even listen to me.
Right.
That guy was an animal. That guy was just, he was hard-headed. Now looking back, I'm like, why was I so hard-headed? But it's in Brooklyn. You grew up in Brooklyn, it's, you have to do what you got to do. It's kind of like a dog eat dog world kind of. And I think if I go back, number one, I think I would have to grab myself by the shirt and I'll have to pull me in right? Like a bully and be like, because number one, I understand physicalness, right? Back then, words didn't really do much for me. So I'd have to pull me in, grab me in, look myself in the face. And I think I'd have to tell that young guy, like, stay a dog. Just stay a dog. Just stay, be a fighter. Do not lose the fire in yourself. Do not assimilate. Do not allow for indoctrination to control you.
Yeah.
Be the 1%. Don't be the 99%.
Yeah,
Stay
absolutely.
ambitious and stay hungry because it'll all figure itself out. That's
For
what I would tell
sure.
my younger self.
So let me ask you this. If you walked into a room of everybody that you know in a business sense, clients, colleagues, everyone in that world, and you could go to the front of that room and tell them a fun story, maybe the best baseball game you ever witnessed, a moment that you were wrapped into that was magical, jumping out of an airplane, just some kind of fun story that might humanize you a little bit in that business world. What fun story would you tell that group of people?
Man, that's such a great question, Joe. Wow. We never take time to really look back and, because we're so focused on, the present and the future, we don't look back for stuff like that. And
Yeah,
I would say a fun story to humanize. Okay, let's see here. Um, I guess I would say, one of the things is, my time in the military, right? When it comes to business, there's only so much fun you can have. Of course, you want to take care of people, you want to do business and whatnot. But I think the funniest aspect was when I was in the military. And I think in the military, I was the type of person where like, you know, I would I was the type of person where I would do this, right? As a mechanic, we have to be able to when we had these tactical vehicles, we got to be able to go out there, we work on them, we fix them, and then we take them out on the road, and then we make sure they're okay. We bring them back to the lot, and then they do another inspection on them. But I was the type of Marine, Joe, where I would fix my own trucks. I would go take them out there, and then it's like a derby. And I would break my own trucks just to have fun with it, right? And
yeah,
then bring it back and go, ah, I just don't know why the tie rod fell off. I don't know why the wheel just popped. I have no idea why the transmission's failing, right? But if they could had a secret camera or if they had like, they would see me just going crazy, right? Just going fun with these cars in my early 20s. And so, I was the type of individual where I enjoyed the wildness. I enjoyed fun. I guess there's not a particular story that stands out to me right now in this exact moment because that's such a good question, Joe. Honestly, there's so many.
yeah.
There's just so many. So, yeah, I guess for now, maybe it will come back to me before the show's over. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah, no, that was a great story. That was a great story. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done in your life, all of the evolution, all the geography you've traveled, the career you have, everything, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
I guess the most thing I'm proudest of is taking the leap of faith and believing in myself and getting into business and starting a business because that is the moment where you have to rely on yourself. You have to believe in yourself so much that even when times are bad, you still believe in yourself. And so in that moment, I had a good paying job. I had all the benefits. I have everything society tells you, your 401k, you're getting match, you have benefits, you have this, you have your hourly rate, you're getting overtime, but it's a box. And so the moment that I was able to, you get that cross in the road, that fork in the road, Joe, where all of a sudden you're just like, here's security, but here's opportunity.
Yeah,
And your 9 to 5 is what pays the bills, but your 5 to 9 is what sets you free. And I had to make a decision. Is my 9 to 5 gonna keep me here forever, or is my 5 to 9 gonna be the ability to set me free? And the moment that I felt my heart was pumping, where I had to make that decision, where I knew that if I made the wrong decision, my life was gonna be over. And I made the decision to take the leap forward. It was scary. I had a lot of hard times, but it was worth it. And it's still worth it to this day. I will never take that back. So that was my proudest moment ever, looking back, because it gave me the ability to now put myself in a position where now I coach, I lead, I mentor, I influence, and I can share my story to other people. Or else, guess what, Joe? If I made the wrong decision, I would not be here with you today. Think
yeah,
about that, Joe.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would be some guy, blue collar guy, 9 to 5, listening to a boss, clocking in, clocking out, gray, no inspiration, no creativity, just stuck like everybody else. And but because I said, you know what, let me make this decision to believe in myself over everybody else. Here I am with you, Joe. You wouldn't be asking me these questions if I didn't
Yep,
make that decision. And so
absolutely
I'm
not.
glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Edgar. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that's ever known you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow, that's a good question, Joe. We gotta definitely, Joe. I gotta come back with. I gotta come
Yeah.
back to your show, man. I gotta come back because, man, Joe, you are awesome. I think my what I think of myself is that what my perspective on myself, Joe?
Yeah, yeah. Who do you ultimately believe you are?
Oh man, it's such a great question. I believe I'm someone who is put in a position to be able to fight for the truth and to be able to lead people in the right direction and guide people, build people, mold people. And I think that I went through all my trials and tribulations because they say smart people learn from their own mistakes, wise people smart people learn from their own mistakes, wise people learn from others. And so now I'm in a position, Joe, where I went through my own trials and tribulations so I can show the next person, hey, how to avoid this, but get the exact same goal in half the time, in a quarter of the time that it took me. And so I want to be able to pass the torch when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to business, when it comes to growth, when it comes to, goal setting, dream chasing. Um, and also I think that I'm someone that, ultimately it's bigger than just business. I think that right now there's a spiritual warfare happening, Joe. I truly believe there's a spiritual warfare happening right now. And I think that I was called to be a warrior of God and to create discipleships and inspire and spread the word. And so I think that big things are coming, Joe, in the sense of like there's going to be 10,000, a million, 100 million more individuals like myself, but that are much more smarter, much more ambitious, much more driven. But it all leads back to they had to learn from someone and take it from somebody else. So I want to be the Patrick Bet David for other individuals, but times 10.
Yeah, I get it. So if anybody wants to hire you, they have questions, they want to reach out, any of the good business in your world, where's the best place for them to go?
As of right now, Joe, very, very simple. The easiest place to reach out to me and learn more about me is just my Instagram. I have a link there that connects to a bunch of other my platforms and whatnot as well, and either other videos of myself so you can learn more about me. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Zavala, Zavala underscore Edgar 25 on Instagram and shoot me a DM. Let me know that you came here from Joe, or click on the link. And then I have two other links that people can click on. They can learn way more about the business model I'm in, the industry I'm in, what I stand for, what we do here. And there's also another link that they can jump on a call with me and I can potentially do a hiring interview. Can't guarantee anything and to see if we're a good fit for you, you're a good fit for us, and just see how we can collaborate and help each other grow and change the world together. So that's the best place you can find me right there, Joe.
I love it. What an inspirational story, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck and send my love to San Diego. I love it down there.
Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Take care. All right, we're out, man. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thank you. You got a wonderful vibe. You got so much going on. So, man, Godspeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I appreciate your time. You asked great questions. Out of all the, I've been to multiple different hosts and I've been to different podcasts and whatnot, but I'm gonna be honest, Joe. You've had the best questions. I don't know if there's competition going on, but you've had the best
Thank you.
questions. Those were very, I